course asking me how dangerous this is. And to be absolutely honest, I don't know how to quantify it.
It stood as one of the 20th century's last great aviation challenges. Ballooning's most coveted prize.
We're at 22,010 feet.
But the dream to fly non-stop around the world has proven one of the toughest to achieve.
200 feet a minute down.
And one of the most dangerous. After so many failed attempts, can one team hitch a ride in the jet stream and sail into the history books? It's a scenic drive along Spain's southern coast, at the edge of the Mediterranean. But for balloon pilot Andy Elson, there's little time to admire the view. His eye is on the sky.
Tucked in here behind the Sierra Nevada mountains, we hope it's going to be absolutely perfect for launching this huge balloon.
Andy wants to be the first to circumnavigate the globe non-stop in a balloon. The gondola he's designed and built has just arrived from England. For Andy, the pressure is on.
Everything that we're doing at the moment is flight critical. So if we're making any mistakes, then it can seriously affect the duration of the flight. It's always something. It's the little things that get you.
Long-distance ballooning has been Andy's obsession for the last 8 years.
We're going to be coming over your head in a minute.
An engineer by training, he's one of the world's top balloon designers. He's also an experienced high-altitude pilot. In 1991, Andy had joined a team of balloonists trying to become the first to make a dangerous ascent over Mount Everest.
The plan was to take 2 balloons and fly over Everest with 1 balloon filming the other. I was supposed to take off first and slowly climb up the front face of Everest.
In such a remote place, at such a high altitude, Andy's skill as a pilot was tested to the extreme. He and his teammates made history that day by successfully flying over the world's tallest mountain. But coming down proved far more difficult than going up. Andy managed to land safely. But the other balloon plummeted at a rate of more than 1,500 feet a minute. The gondola was shattered. The pilots nearly killed.
Good morning. Buenos dias.
Andy's co-pilot on this flight is fellow British balloonist Colin Prescott.
This is an amazing feat of technology.
He's a seasoned pilot in his own right, who once made a daring night flight across the North Sea in a balloon.
I've got it if you want to let go.
You sure?
Yeah. It's a great adventure. I've always liked adventures. And in some ways, this is an ultimate adventure, even though I'd never really planned to do it.
Andy and Colin aren't the only ones competing for ballooning's most prestigious prize. 5 other teams from around the world are preparing to launch from 4 continents. It's the year of the balloon. British tycoon Richard Branson is best known among the contenders. This year marks his 4th attempt. He's teaming up with American adventurer Steve Fossett.
Well, I'm really enjoying this.
In 1998, Fossett made a solo attempt from Argentina. He flew a record distance of 14,236 miles before ditching in the Coral Sea off the coast of Australia. Another major competitor is Swiss psychiatrist Bertrand Piccard, the grandson of ballooning pioneer Auguste Piccard.
Well, this time we start. I don't know when we'll come back.
In 1998, Piccard piloted the Swiss balloon Breitling Orbiter 2. His teammate was Andy.
We flew through Syria, Iraq, Iran, Afghanistan. At one point we were 20 miles north of Baghdad. You know, that was just a really special moment.
After 9 days in the air, the balloon came down in Burma. Despite the defeat, they set a new world endurance record. But the challenge to fly around the world remained. In this year's race, Andy and Colin believe they have the competitive edge.
But you still have the tanks all attached to the envelope?
Right.
Their secret? They're the only team using kerosene instead of propane. Kerosene is trickier to use and takes longer to light. But Andy believes the advantages far outweigh the risk.
By using kerosene, we can take it in plastic bags. This saves us an awful lot of weight on stainless steel containers. This gives us much greater duration. Probably the biggest danger with using kerosene is an onboard fire. It's not as easy to ignite as the propane. Fire is one of our biggest worries.
Although their gondola is almost 20 feet long and 7.5 feet wide, it combines the latest in communications and balloon technology.
So this is the flight deck. From here we control all aspects of the balloon. We have our navigations, our communications, and everything else that we need to make this flight successful. This is our life support system. This tank contains liquid nitrogen, and this one liquid oxygen. We boil off the liquid oxygen to give us something to breathe, but should this system fail, then we return to our backup system, which is bottled oxygen. This is the part of the gondola that we get the most questions about. This is the toilet. As you can see, it looks remarkably like the one you have at home. We also have a wooden seat. In previous flights, we've had a plastic one. But when the temperature in here, if the heating system fails, drops to about -55, the plastic seat can break and it bites. So wooden seats are much more user-friendly.
Ballooning has come a long way from its humble beginnings more than 2 centuries ago.
Conquest of space began in a balloon.
In 1783, Jean-Francois Pilatre de Rosier soared above the rooftops of Paris in a balloon, made literally out of linen and paper. In the first half of this century, a number of records were broken as balloons climbed higher into the stratosphere. This 1935 National Geographic-funded expedition set a new milestone for altitude, nearly 14 miles.
Explorer 2 lifted man and his hopes much closer to the stars.
After Explorer 2, aviation technology continued to advance, and balloonists set their sights on a new challenge. Since 1980, 22 attempts have been made to circle the world in a balloon. All have failed. The race for the record has become ballooning's holy grail.
This is a very difficult challenge because the world is a very big place.
December 19th, 1998. Andy and Colin are now working under a tent, conducting final tests on the gondola.
This is our solar array. This is a prototype. It's the world's first. We've managed to get 50% more power than we had last year and the same weight, just 75 kilos, about 165 pounds.
While Andy makes a few last-minute repairs, in Morocco, Richard Branson and Steve Fawcett stun the other teams by announcing they're ready to launch.
We should be off in about 10 minutes, and everything's looking magnificent.
The takeoff from Marrakesh is flawless.
We wish you well. Great cheers. Hooray.
But a few days later, the balloon strays off course into restricted Chinese airspace. Although the Chinese didn't force them down, they hit dead air over the Pacific. The flight fails after 8 days, just off the coast of Hawaii.
Even with that, we could have launched last night.
Because of Branson's flight, an angered Chinese government bans all balloons from entering their airspace.
It's moved up a little bit. There's a little bit of cloud spreading out. I'm really disappointed in Branson and Fawcett. I guess it's, what you have to expect from these upstart millionaires who want to come and compete in our sport. On your readings on
Without access through China, he'll miss catching the jet stream. Andy's dream of flying a balloon around the world is in serious trouble.
I made a note of that.
For weeks, the team is idle. The gondola sits on a golf course in Spain as the frustration mounts.
Have you heard the news about China?
Colin tries to win back permission from the Chinese to fly over their airspace.
That's what I thought you'd say.
But by early February, all efforts fail.
So I guess we just stick with the plan, don't we?
3 of the 5 remaining teams
Well.
cancel their flights for the year.
Well, yes, I know. So if we can get delivered south of the Himalayas...
Now, just 2 teams are left in the running.
We just might be able to crawl around Hainan.
Andy and Colin are determined to succeed.
Martin's talking about this is where the
They decide to fly south of China, adding miles and days to the journey.
From here to here, it could easily take us 3 or 4 days. Whereas if we're a little bit further north in the jet stream, that same section would only take a day, day and a half. So it really adds significantly to our flight time.
The change in strategy means more fuel is needed. With less than a month left to launch, Andy scrambles to redesign the balloon and add 2 tons of fuel. But just exactly when and if they'll leave is in the hands of Mother Nature. February 16th. The forecast calls for ideal weather conditions. The launch is set for the following day. The team swings into action with help from local volunteers.
1, 2, 3.
It takes all day to roll out the balloon envelope. One of the largest ever built. Day turns into night. Inflating the balloon with over 1 million cubic feet of helium takes even more time, nearly 9 hours. By dawn, the balloon towers 14 stories high. After all the difficulties and delays, Colin and Andy are ready to face the challenge ahead.
The fact that the flight's going to take longer obviously means much higher risk of things going wrong, things wearing out, things breaking down. There's not a lot we can do about that.
For Colin, saying goodbye to his family isn't easy. It's even harder on his wife, Susie.
I'm a little worried about Susie because I know that once we've taken off, she is going to worry until we're back safely. The children don't realize that there might be an element of danger at all, and they just think it's real cool.
I think this wonderful day, for me, is a cross between Christmas Day and going to the dentist. I'm so excited for Colin, but I feel so anxious. It's not going to hurt, but it's going to be fine. He's worked so hard to bring the whole project together, and he and Andy, just such an ideal team. They're just fantastic.
At 9:47 a.m. Greenwich Mean Time, the lines are cut, and the balloon ascends into the sky. A chase plane follows Andy and Colin for the first few miles. On board is Andy's 88-year-old mother, Phyllis.
Now, do you think they'll do it all the way round?
Oh, they got to, haven't they? I'm positive they will.
Mounted cameras inside the gondola allow her to see and talk to Andy live.
It looks absolutely wonderful, Andrew. It's like a bauble on a Christmas tree. It's so beautiful.
I hope it's not too much like a bauble on a Christmas tree, because they usually fall off and break. But I'm sure we'll be all right.
The balloon tracks southwest through southern Morocco and into Mauritania. It takes Andy and Colin a few days to settle into life on board the gondola.
Yes, Charlie Whiskey just wished for a radio check, please.
5-2.
At Mission Control in London, a team of specialists monitors their every move.
A few hundred feet of airspace. You can fiddle about down here until the jet appears in the right place.
Day 4, at 8,000 feet over Africa, Andy and Colin have to transfer fuel between tanks. It means climbing out of the gondola and walking around on top.
Isn't this an amazing view? Nothing forever and ever and ever.
It's a risky maneuver.
There's nothing more psychological than this kind of stuff, is there really?
For me, it feels very, very vulnerable to be out here. There's this huge void underneath the balloon, and it feels really surreal.
What are you doing down there, Andy?
I'm looking at the amazing sights of the Western Desert.
The balloon flies low to stay on a southeasterly track. It's slow and frustrating.
Just around the world. We've still gone backwards after 4 days, but we're still optimistic.
Here we go, yeah.
It takes more than a week to cross the African continent. February 25th, the balloon changes altitude and picks up speed as it crosses the Arabian Sea. But it's not a trouble-free flight. The onboard heater is broken.
Heating wasn't working properly last night, so we're going to sort that out and hope we can.
Ice forms inside the gondola at night. Then the satellite phone goes down. Now the only way to communicate with Mission Control is by computer.
So this is our first view of India.
February 27th, day 9. Colin and Andy get a psychological boost as a shot at history looms on the horizon. The team crosses India, on track to smash Andy's old endurance record.
3, 2, 1, wow!
Just after 6 a.m. Greenwich Mean Time, the celebration at Mission Control begins. A new record is set. 9 days, 18 hours non-stop without refueling.
Colin, well done.
And people are starting to take notice and saying, gosh, these guys are really flying. They're really doing something here.
Day 12, March 1st. While Andy and Colin cross the Bay of Bengal, the last remaining team, Breitling Orbiter 3, prepares to launch from a village in Switzerland. This time, Andy's former teammate, Bertrand Piccard, will be flying with British pilot Brian Jones.
When we saw that Andy and Colin were doing really well, they were still in the air after 2 weeks, then we started to be a little afraid. For us, we were happy for them, but we were a little afraid for us.
The Breitling team has won permission from the Chinese to fly over their airspace. That gives them a big advantage. But it doesn't seem to worry Colin and Andy.
Are they going to catch us up? No way. At very worst, we should always be 1,000 miles in front of them.
Over the next few days, Andy and Colin fly slowly across Thailand and Vietnam. Andy has successfully repaired the satellite phone using a spare part from the light in their toilet. But with little sleep and no fresh food on board, Andy and Colin begin to miss the small comforts of home.
Now, I'm afraid this isn't going to look very appetizing. It probably won't taste any better, but it's all you're getting.
The onboard cameras record their thoughts on the grueling journey.
The thing I miss the most, apart from freedom to move around, is my daily shower in the morning. Getting out of bed and standing in the rain is most important to me.
Yes, and all we have is wet wipes to have a bath every day, which works fine, but it's not quite the same.
March 4th, day 15. With precision flying, Andy and Colin successfully skirt the southern edge of China. Now they face the most dangerous leg of the journey, the Pacific Ocean.
It's absolutely vital we don't mess up in the next few days.
Back home in England, the anxiety is building for Colin's wife, Susie.
I can't sleep very well. I think about it all the time. In the evening when I sit down, I'm really looking forward to it all being over.
To cross the Pacific, Andy and Colin must hit the northern edge of the jet stream at just the right moment, in precisely the right place. If all goes smoothly, the powerful winds will take them across the largest ocean in the world to the west coast of America in less than 4 days. March 6th, day 17. The balloon flies low to Japan, where Andy and Colin hope to intercept the jet stream. Meanwhile, the Breitling team is over Saudi Arabia, trailing far behind. But then, Andy and Colin find themselves trapped underneath a storm system.
There's very thick cloud above, very thick cloud below. There are large snow flurries all around. It's pluming down between these two layers of cloud. Something's clearly gone wrong.
The heavy clouds block the sun, draining the solar batteries. If Andy and Colin can't find a way out of the storm, they'll lose power entirely and end up flying blind. Back in London, Mission Control is on full alert. The atmosphere is tense.
We probably need to warn them about those hills as well, don't we?
Andy and Colin spend the next several hours trying to outrace the storm, but it does no good. Now, they've got to prepare for a crash landing. Sunday, March 7th. Colin's voice is strangely calm as the cable and wireless balloon heads toward the Sea of Japan.
190 feet. 180 feet, yes, above the sea. 200 feet a minute down. Descending now a little bit. See, okay? You all right? You okay?
It bounces on the water several times, then gets dragged across the surface. Andy and Colin cling to the top of the gondola.
Is everything clear if we want to eject it?
Japan's Air Force is quick to arrive on the scene. Andy is the first to jump into the frigid water. Colin follows moments later. Wet and weary, they're plucked from the sea. Relief comes with deep disappointment. Their dream of being the first to circle the globe in a balloon ends in crushing defeat. From the rescue plane, Andy and Colin catch one last glimpse of the balloon they'd called home for nearly 18 days.
And I saw, just sailing away majestically, this vast golden scalloped sail with our capsule all framed by the mist and the rain. It was the most surreal sight, and rather a sad one, because we were never to see any part of it again.
While Andy and Colin arrive back in London to a hero's welcome, Breitling's Orbiter 3 is still flying. Now the world is theirs alone to capture.
At no moment, absolutely no moment of the flight, we would have accepted to quit. We go to the end of this flight, whatever happens.
With the odds stacked against them, the Breitling team makes a radical change to conventional flight strategy. Instead of riding the fastest winds around the planet, they constantly shift altitudes and maneuver with the wind.
We did not have any storms, we did not have any rain, we never were in the rain with the balloon. So of course it was a low flight, a slow flight, but it was what we thought would happen.
On March 21st, they achieve what many thought impossible. After nearly 20 days of flying non-stop in a balloon, Breitling Orbiter 3 touches down in Egypt, having made history in the air.
Really, we had the feeling that something was guiding us and pushing us toward the finish line. It was absolutely amazing.
Bertrand Piccard and Brian Jones returned to a royal reception at a balloon factory in Bristol, England. Andy and Colin joined the Queen of England in honoring their achievement.
It is a teamwork and a friendship story.
As they talk with Prince Philip, it's a chance for Andy and Colin to savor their own adventure.
Almost 18 days.
I personally think we did a pretty good job. We even proved the impossible of flying around China. I feel well satisfied.
Really pleased. Very well. Thank you, Andy.
Orbiter 3's historic flight around the world marks the end of an era in long-distance ballooning. But new challenges are always on the horizon. Just ask Andy and Colin.
Well, we'd quite like to fly to the edge of space. It's a record that stood for 40 years. It was set by the American military in the Gulf of Mexico.
And we'd really like to do it over Britain.
As long as new challenges exist, daring adventurers will keep looking to the skies for another shot at history and high adventure.